Good morning, everybody. So Todd said he asked for 2 hours. I asked for 2 days. Um, uh, I'm sure all of you know about vibe coding. If you don't, in the next 20 minutes, Jerry and I will try to bring it live for you. So when the whole symposium agenda was getting formed, I said, I want to do something bold and crazy. Why don't we build an app on stage? And that's what you're going to see in the next 20 minutes. Joining me today is Jerry Lui. Jerry is a co-founder and CEO of Llama Index, one of the more popular open source libraries out there for building generative AI and agentic applications. We've been working with Jerry and team for the last year plus. Awesome collaboration, and they're also part of KPMG's portfolio companies. Jerry, you wanted to introduce yourself more?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone. It's great to be here. We're one of the leading developer communities in Gen AI, and we, as you'll see, specialize a lot in document processing and data quality for your AI agents. I've never done this on stage, so we'll see how this goes. This is probably the most unstructured presentation I've done, but we're going to YOLO and see how it goes. All right.
So look what I signed them up for. So people who do demos. So when we all do demos, we pray to the demo gods, and we start with that. So here is the scenario. So I'm sure all of you deal with invoices. I think it's broken. Human invoice processing can happen in 95 million ways. So we are going to take an attempt at reimagining it in the next 18, 19 minutes. So some of the challenges you can deal when you're processing invoices are first of all, it's very unstructured. I mean, no invoice is the same, so you have to go from unstructured to unstructured. So how do you deal with that variability? How do you leverage language models for that? There are issues you can handle when you're processing them. There could be duplicates, there could be overages, there could be hidden charges, ambiguous charges, many such things. So if we have to wipe this up, how would this look like? So doing this in 20 minutes is hard, but we'll show you what we actually did to bring this to life. What you're seeing on the left is actually hand-sketched design for what I wanted this application to look like. So we're going to do invoices. Speaking of UI for AI, this is one UI for AI. And on the right, you're seeing some of the capabilities we wanted to build. Like we wanted scalable ingestion, going from unstructured to structured in a more scalable way. How do I do smart searching of invoices, anomaly detection, lofty goal, right? And we picked 3 tools to bring this to life. So to bring the hand sketches to life, it'll be with Google Stitch. We'll use Llama Index. Jerry will walk us through in detail. And then use Cursor as a vibe coding tool to build the app. So if you don't know, Stitch is a beta capability from Google. Being in the labs, we keep trying a lot of things. So here, I'm going to start this off. So what I'm basically doing is I'm giving my hand sketches and describing what I want the design to look like. And fast forward, you're going to see a design like this. I went from a hand sketch to a UX design. It probably takes a few minutes. I don't want you to look at a loading screen. And it is not one and done, right? You keep interacting with it. But eventually you get to a design like, okay, this is the look and feel of the app that it'll look like. Then great, okay, this is what the app experience is going to look. This is what I can search. Here is where I can look at the invoice details. I can look at line item breakdowns. I can look at scoring of how each of the line items are. Awesome, great. Now what's the next thing? The next thing is I need to now build the code, the application. And like I said, so some of the specific things we wanted to build here were, how do I do the invoice processing at scale? And that's where we leverage Llama Index. But to build the app, the agents, the backend, the front end included based on the designs. This is Cursor. In case, sorry for folks sitting out there, I hope you can see there.
I have my own cursor setup, but yeah, that's basically how it works.
It'll look like this. For non-engineers, non-coders, it might look like a dark screen, but trust me, you write in English and then you interact with it. So here is the big prompt. So when I write prompt, I'm very particular in the way I want it to be written. I describe what I want to do in a level of detailed, verbose manner. What are the capabilities? I explain the capabilities. You don't have to do it this way. You can leave the AI to imagine. But this is a level of determinism we bring into the whole experience. So this is the prompt. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the process. This is going to take a few minutes. And on the right is a place where I can kick off the agent. And let that happen. But in the meantime, what I would love for Jerry to do is, what is actually happening in the back? So for this system to come to life, why don't you walk us through Llama Index and Llama Cloud?
Yeah, sounds great. And for those of you on looking at the left screen, I'm kicking off a parallel cursor script just to vibe code my own app. And I mean, there's a 40% chance of this completing by the end of the 14 minutes that we have. But in the meantime, I think part of the overall idea is that, these days, kind of especially with newer emerging technologies like vibe coding, MCP, and those types of things, the gap between pro code and no code development is really kind of closing, so that basically all of you should be able to build these types of applications very easily as long as you have the right core modules. And so one of the core modules here really is that data processing layer. If you think about invoices, they can come in many different types of formats. They can be deeply unstructured, have very complicated tables, can be scanned images, all those things. And the first order of business is really making sure you have some layer to basically process and index those documents and have that knowledge management layer so that your AI agents can access that data. So Llama Cloud basically is that knowledge management layer for your AI agents. We took some of these example invoices that we're going to demo today, and so something like this. And Llama Cloud 1 has really, really good parsing capabilities to basically kind of digitalize all the paperwork that you have in an automatic manner. The second is, when you have an entire collection of this type of data, I'll skip ahead to this screen right here. You can actually just index all of this in some sort of overall knowledge base and then give it to your AI agent to access. And so our index feature allows you to basically index thousands to even millions of documents and make all that context available to your LLM, effectively giving it an unlimited context window. If I click into one of these documents right here, you'll see we actually are able to showcase both the original document as well as the parsed representation in terms of the tokens that you're feeding to the agent. The last piece that I'll just quickly mention is, besides just kind of the document parsing as well as the indexing capabilities, oftentimes you might want to extract out structured line items from these invoices too. And so if you actually have certain types of fields that you want to extract out, like the invoice number, issue date, seller, and you can basically define all these fields such that no matter how complicated the invoice, you're able to extract out structured data in the right format. We have the endpoints to help you do this document extraction capabilities so that this basically standardizes your kind of data ETL process for all your downstream applications.
Jerry, could you talk about, so we're going from unstructured to structured, the ability to express in plain English or prompts. Mm-hmm. What do you want? Because variability of invoices is one thing you have to deal with. Mm-hmm. So in Llama Extract, you can define those in English as instructions. Want to talk about that?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, part of this idea is that, for any of you basically using some of these core building blocks, our core technologies basically offer you some sort of kind of core document processing understanding capabilities that are actually promptable via natural language. And so if you have certain types of stylistic preferences for how you want to model and structure your data, you can do that. And I think part of this point is some of this stuff is legitimately pretty deep tech. We've basically built our own core technology around a lot of this document understanding. But as long as you have the core components, then actually building the application itself becomes much easier. And I guess part of the goal on stage is to show that we can actually build these types of apps relatively quickly as long as you have this core document processing and knowledge management layer for your AI agents. Yeah,
so the invoices are one type of data, as part of expanding this kind of an application, you would typically will also have to deal with contracts. So doing a 3-by-2-way comparison between what is the agreement this vendor had with you. So contracts also come in different shapes and sizes, and they have tables and charts and images. So the parse and extract and index eventually are 3 big building blocks which we have leveraged in this application to process these documents at scale, do the parsing, do the extraction, and indexing them for the agents that are going to be using them that you'll see come to life.
Yeah, and what we're building at the end is basically an end-to-end agentic workflow. But even here, you can see because we index a collection of like a few hundred different invoices, you effectively you get back some sort of chat interface where you can basically ask questions about specific details within an invoice and get back like the answers. And it's all backed by the underlying sources and citations. So if I go into kind of like the parse data right here, you can see this is basically the token representation that's like getting fed to the language model. And if I go into the screenshot, this is like that source data that the model can also see, given their kind of multimodal understanding capabilities these days.
Yeah. So Llama Cloud was the back end, and like I said, I started off the process in Cursor to go write the code. It'll take time, right, to be honest. This is not like one and done. Vibe coding is where you have to be patient. You need to know what you're asking the AI. You're interacting with AI. You're interacting with a synthetic software engineer. So usually, my experience at least, I've had like 50 back and forth interactions, which I had till like 2 a.m. last night. I literally built it last night. And we were exchanging, and Jerry built his version. So you're going to see 2 versions of this. So the app got built, and because of the way I specified what it has to look, the code, the back end was in Python, as you could see, and the front end has been built in React, and all of these are set up. Now let's go look at what it actually looks. So the way I designed it, I said, look, the back end need to have all of these APIs. Think of these as quote unquote agents, right? That does things, but abstracted and is invoking Llama Cloud. But ta-da, this is the app. You know the hand sketch I drew? Stitch gave me the designs. I took those designs, gave it to Cursor, specified a few other things, and this is the landing screen. And I could come here and say, okay, let's start with show me all invoices over $1,000. Okay, I can get to this. Interesting. I want to see one of those invoices. So it gives me a quick view of the vendor, the amount, pending approval, and I could go into the details. Again, this was another hand sketch I gave that became a design like this, now an app, and it's calling Llama Cloud behind the scenes. So it has extracted, Llama Cloud has already extracted from every invoice. It's giving me all of the structured data. I can understand the approval chain, but here is the key part. AI has done a level of inference here. It's saying it's a low risk, there's a potential duplicate check flag, software rep license appears to be standard, product codes are clear. So this is AI explaining it's, okay, why did I mark this to be a moderate level risk? I can go into more detail and understand, because there are different agents that are doing different things on the invoice. This is doing, okay, what is the overall clarity on the line item level? Are we finding duplicates? Are we finding ambiguous products? Are we finding overcharges? These are all domain-specific knowledge that you would build in. So vibe coding is not software engineers sitting and doing something. It's like, who's the domain expert who knows and how can they express what it is? And it does, okay, what is the risk assessment? And there's a confidence score that the agent comes back and says, I'm 92% confident, it's low. So I can go look at different types of invoices. I can go look at another one that is being rejected, and I can understand why it has been rejected, because travel expenses detected, somebody's using a private jet, good for them, but not good for the firm. There is a risk score, and there is a risk assessment, there is over budget and how high risk, and the confidence is 93%. This is my side. Jerry, you want to show yours?
Yeah, and keep in mind, I built this in 20 minutes, and so it's a little bit longer than the time allotted for the demo. If you go to the cursor setup, you can see it actually finished. So if I did a little bit of commands, it's basically ready. I think part of the point we're trying to convey here is you can basically do this, maybe with like a little bit of technical understanding these days, but that gap is rapidly shrinking, and you basically get something what Swami is showing right there, like pretty quickly. I built a much more simple app. Effectively, like again, this took 20 minutes, but I uploaded the screenshots and then asked it to generate something that kind of followed these overall specifications. So if I upload this image right here, that invoice that I processed, it'll process that invoice and basically give me back the extracted results in some sort of table below. It doesn't do the kind of reconciliation or matching step so far, but it does call our endpoints for that really highly accurate document extraction. And it's able to basically extract out and lift out all those items into this table right here. And so, it extracts out all the invoice items, vendor information, descriptions, and these were, again, part of like a scanned image, so it requires visual understanding to basically get that text out of the page. If I go to this list right here, you can see just a list of different invoices that we processed so far. And again, this took 20 minutes, and with technologies these days, basically building these types of apps has become much more quick. And so part of the goal is all of us are basically programmers as long as you define the right specifications in natural language. If you look at that system prompt that Swami put in, as well as this kind of maybe a little bit hackier of a prompt I put into Cursor, I didn't do a single piece of code. All I did was, can you please just like give me this app that follows the specifications, and then see if it works.
Yeah, so reflecting on the previous session, one of them said, look, you got to go play with AI, the AI that is available to you. This is AI that is available to all of us. Some of these, for example, KPMG is adopting and piloting, but the power of what you can do, I tell vibe coding is the new PowerPoint. It's a way to bring concepts to life. We were drawing all of those things in PowerPoint, but now you can bring them to life. I hope the demo gods were kind to us. You saw how a concept, hand-sketched notes got to life with a live and working app. If we can do it, all of you can do it.
Yeah, and for those of you who are interested, we did build kind of like a much deeper version of this, shown on the left screen right here. This did take maybe a little bit longer than 20 minutes, but is like a full representation of that end-to-end kind of extraction and reconciliation flow. You upload your invoices as well as kind of any purchase orders or contracts into a knowledge base, and it'll basically give you kind of like the full extraction, like multi-step agentic reasoning to do extraction, rule matching, surface any relevant items for human-in-the-loop approval, and then kind of give you back the result. And so this is both customizable within your technical teams, as well as with tools like this within like kind of like business and non-technical users too.
So like every advertisement that has a fast message in the end disclaimer, couple of disclaimers. So what you're saying is you're bringing a concept to life. This is incubate, the new way of incubating things. To make this production ready, that's a whole different discipline, including how do you bring aspects of trust? How do you know this is even 93? Well, how do you know 93% is the right 93%? So all of those require a level of rigor, but some of those fundamentals don't go away of how you kind of make this production ready and deploy. But the time it takes to incubate and have a POC MVP ready is much farther than what you think. I don't know how we're doing on time. We've got a minute. We can probably take a question maybe? Or stop. Okay, we don't have time for questions. Sorry about that.
All good, all good.
We have one question.
Yeah, I had a question. So how would vibe coding change the software development team makeup?
It's a great question. From my personal experience, we found our product managers can basically write a ton of both design and also front-end code in a way that kind of bypasses the need for a lot of like manual implementation by more junior engineers. So that's definitely one big aspect, is as long as you have the natural language prompt and the design specs specified, a lot of that kind of front-end implementation becomes much easier.
One thing I'll add, it's already here, Aisha.
Yeah.
if you have a software development team that is not using one of these, you're already late. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I hope it works. Yeah.